My name is Yitzhak Frankenthal. I was a businessman till July 1994, when my eldest son, Arik, was kidnapped and murdered by Hamas. I realized that I lost my son only because there is no peace. I left my business and I decided to try to do the utmost to find a peace solution between the Israelis and Palestinians. I failed. And not only me, all the peace organization we failed. We raised millions of dollars to try to market the peace to the Israeli society, and the result is much worse than it was before. We tried to understand what the Israeli society wants. We understood that they don't want to hear about peace. So what else? And then we found something that the Israelis are attached to.
It's not satire and it's not irony. It's real advertisement that shows to the viewers like a mirror what's in it for me in the conflict. And when it comes to the conflict, there's a lot of in it for us Israelis.
Okay, we need the conflict because without it we wouldn't have heroes, we wouldn't have our songs, we wouldn't have the armies, we wouldn't have wars, we wouldn't have memorial days. It gives us an emotional kind of root. It unifies us, it makes us one. We like hanging on the edge and saying, this is the very last minute, this is our identity. We call it the conflict, but this is who we are.
When people hold very, very strong beliefs about certain issues, you cannot try to convince them by just presenting them with the opposite ideas. So what paradoxical thinking does is that it brings people to the absurd by presenting them their own ideas, but only in a very, very extreme way, to extreme level. And when people are presented with their own ideas in an extreme or radical way, they tend to re-examine their ideas and entertain some new ideas or new solutions to the same problem.
So we made an advertisement campaign for the conflict. We actually branded the conflict. And we made those ads to show people all the advantages in the conflict and actually convince them how much they need the conflict.
We set up an academic experiment in which we showed people the conflict ads together with traditional commercials, and we exposed them to hundreds of participants among the Israeli society.
And then something happened that sometimes happens in marketing. The campaign failed.
It failed because although we exposed the people to solid facts and we told them that they needed the conflict and it defined them, they were willing to drop it.
We found statistically significant differences between participants who watched the conflict videos to those in the control condition in terms of their willingness to accept responsibility for the continuation of the conflict, in terms of their willingness to make significant compromises in the context of the conflict, and even in terms of their voting intentions in the Israeli elections. And more interestingly, those differences were mostly pronounced among those in the center and right wing of the political Israeli system.
That's when we realized that we got something very unique in our hand, and as we fail, we succeed. It was amazing, something paradoxical, but that was our taglit, how you said it, our discovery.
Actually, it turned out to be a very meaningful study in the field of social psychology. It was published in one of the most important journals in the field, in PNAS, and got a very wide exposure in the public media.
It's the first time, over 40 years, with all the efforts to find a peace solution, that we got a chance to make a difference in our region.
What's really important for us is to examine whether we can actually implement this project among the Israeli and Palestinian society and create a real change that is based on the results of the paradoxical thinking project.
Because we don't need to succeed, we need to fail.